Okay, so have you heard about this? Scientists are actually talking about bringing extinct animals back to life. Not in a movie, but like for real. That's what we're diving into today. We found this Washington Post article all about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw that.
It focuses on bringing back the dodo.
Oh, the dodo.
You know, that bird that's been extinct, what, for like centuries?
Yeah, for a long time. It's definitely something that's captured people's imaginations.
Yeah.
What I think is really interesting is how this goes way beyond just the like wow factor we're really talking about, like gene editing and what it could mean for conservation.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So first of all, what's the deal with the dodo? Most people, I think. When they think about it, they just think about it as like a symbol of extinction.
Right. But there's a lot more to the story. So the dodo was this flightless bird, only found on this island called Mauritius. And when humans showed up there back in the 1600s, it was pretty much game over for the dodo.
Oh, wow.
Easy prey for hunters, habitat destruction, gone. Like within decades.
Wow, that's so sad. And for the longest time, scientists weren't even sure what kind of bird it even was. Like, was it some weird pigeon relative or something totally unique?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's where the work of Beth Shapiro comes in. She's a scientist who's been using ancient DNA analysis to like figure out the dodo's family tree. And it turns out they're very closely related to pigeons.
Oh, wow.
But what's really fascinating is how Shapiro went from being like skeptical about de-extinction to actually being a pioneer in the field.
Wait, really? I didn't realize she was initially against it. What made her change her mind? Was it just the science or was there something more?
Well, early on, Shapiro was all about using ancient DNA to learn about the past. She even wrote this book called How to Clone a Mammoth, which initially laid out her pretty skeptical view. She wasn't convinced that like rewriting the past was even a good idea.
I see.
One of her main arguments was that the resources for all this could be better used for species that are endangered right now. Why bring back the dead when we're struggling to save the living?
Yeah, that makes total sense. So what shifted her thinking then?
Well, a few things, actually. First, the science of gene editing just advanced incredibly fast, especially with new tools like CRISPR.
Yeah.
And Colossal, the company Shapiro's working with, they can literally use CRISPR to find and replace specific genes in the pigeon DNA with dodo genes.
Whoa, really? That's incredible.
It's mind-blowing. But it also raises some big questions like, are we actually creating a dodo or something else entirely? What are the limits of CRISPR?
Right, those are good questions. Okay, so hold on. I want to take a step back for a second. I get that Colossal wants to bring back the dodo, but how does that even work?
Yeah, so it all starts with the dodo's closest living relative, the pigeon. So they extract something called primordial germ cells from pigeon embryos.
Primordial germ cells. Okay, I'm already lost.
Think of them like the seeds of sperm and egg cells. They're kind of like stem cells that haven't decided what they want to be yet.
Ah, okay, so they take these seeds from the pigeons.
This is where the gene editing magic comes in. They use CRISPR to swap out specific pigeon genes with dodo genes in those primordial germ cells. Then they inject these modified cells back into developing pigeon embryos.
Got it. So the pigeons that hatch from these embryos, they wouldn't be dodos, right?
Exactly. First generation will still be pigeons, but they'll carry the modified dodo DNA in their reproductive cells.
Okay, so it's their offspring that have the potential to be dodos.
Precisely. It's a multi-generational process. The offspring of those first-generation pigeons could inherit the dodo genes and potentially exhibit traits that make them look like the extinct dodo. It's like taking selective breeding to a whole other level. Instead of waiting generations for the desired traits to emerge, we can make those changes directly at the DNA level.
Wow. Okay, I'm starting to see how this could actually work. But hold on a second. We're talking about rewriting the code of life here. I mean, isn't there a huge ethical debate about this?
Oh, absolutely. Some people argue that. They argue that messing with nature like this could have all sorts of unintended consequences.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, for starters, there are concerns about ecological disruption. You know, if a resurrected animal is introduced into a modern ecosystem, it could really throw things out of whack.
Makes sense.
I mean, think about it. The dodo evolved in a very specific environment on Mauritius.
Right.
And that environment, I mean, it's changed so much since the 1600s.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So there's no guarantee that a resurrected dodo could even adapt.
It might end up competing with existing species for like food and resources.
Exactly.
It's not like we can just drop a dodo into a time machine and send it back to the 1600s. We're talking about introducing it into a world that it's just not adapted for.
Right. It's a really complex issue.
And then there's the whole question of, you know, are we putting too much money and effort into de-extinction? When we're facing a biodiversity crisis right now, shouldn't we be focusing on saving the species that are still hanging on?
Yeah, that's a really valid point. It's a question a lot of people are asking.
I mean, I totally get it. It's
Yeah.
hard to argue with that logic. But it also sounds like the technologies they're developing,
Right.
like for de-extinction, could also be used to help those endangered species, right? Like what Colossal is doing with the pink pigeon.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really important point. It's not a simple or either situation. The line between de-extinction and conservation is getting kind of blurry.
I say.
So Colossal is actually trying to use gene editing to help save the pink pigeon
Yeah.
by introducing more genetic diversity into the population. They're even working on a vaccine for the elephant herpes virus,
Oh, wow.
which is a huge threat to elephants worldwide.
So in a way,
Mm.
de-extinction is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in conservation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's definitely
Sure.
pushing the boundaries.
Let's circle back to those ethical concerns for a second. Even Beth Shapiro, who's a leading figure in de-extinction now, she had some reservations about it all.
Oh, yeah.
What were some of the things that bothered her?
Well, one of her main concerns was about habitat loss. If they bring back the dodo, where is it going to live?
Right.
Mauritius, the dodo's original home, it's changed so much.
Yeah. The article mentioned that she actually went to Mauritius to assess potential habitat for a resurrected dodo population.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It seems like she's really taking this ethical side of things seriously.
She absolutely is. She's not just focused on the scientific challenges. She's also thinking about the welfare of the animals and the broader ecological impact. And she's not alone in this. There's a growing movement within the de-extinction community to proceed with a lot of caution and really consider all the ethical implications of every step.
Okay, that's good to hear. It sounds like there's a real awareness of the potential risks here. But let's be honest, the idea of bringing back extinct animals is pretty captivating. I mean, Colossal isn't just working on the dodo. They're also trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, those are some big ones.
Can you imagine, a world where those creatures are roaming the earth again?
It's a mind-boggling thought.
It really is.
But it raises some pretty profound questions, too.
Yeah.
About, our role in shaping the future of life on Earth. If we have the power to bring back extinct species, what responsibility comes with that power?
Yeah, that's a big question. Have we learned from the mistakes that led to their extinction in the first place? Are we ready to manage those risks responsibly?
Those are questions we really have to grapple with as a society.
Definitely.
It's not just about the science anymore. It's about our values, our relationship with nature, and what kind of legacy we want to leave behind for future generations.
Yeah. We're talking about potentially rewinding the clock on extinction, which is something humanity has never done before.
It's definitely uncharted territory.
De-extinction isn't just a scientific challenge, it's a philosophical one, too.
Yeah.
It makes us ask what our role should be in shaping the future of life on Earth.
Exactly. And it's not just about the past either. De-extinction could offer us new tools to protect biodiversity in the future.
How so?
Well, what if we could use gene editing to make species more resilient to things like climate change or emerging diseases?
That would be incredible.
The possibilities are really exciting and maybe a little daunting, too.
Yeah. This whole conversation, it makes me wonder if Shapiro's journey from skeptic to advocate is kind of a reflection of the larger scientific community, grappling with these ethical considerations of de-extinction.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. As the science keeps advancing, the ethical dilemmas are only going to get more complex.
For sure. But even beyond the ethical concerns, there's this whole practical side of things to consider, too. If you did bring back a dodo, wouldn't it just go extinct again if we haven't addressed the reasons it disappeared in the first place?
You're absolutely right.
Habitat loss, introduced predators. Those problems haven't just magically gone away.
Exactly. De-extinction can't be seen as some kind of quick fix for the biodiversity crisis. We can't just bring back a species and expect it to thrive. In a world that's fundamentally changed, we need to address those root causes of extinction, like habitat destruction, climate change, pollution, otherwise. Any de-extinction efforts will basically just be a temporary Band-Aid.
So maybe de-extinction is more than just bringing back extinct animals. Maybe it's about using those same technologies to
Yeah,
rethink how we approach conservation in general.
I think that's a really insightful point. Yeah, perhaps de-extinction could be a catalyst for developing new, more proactive conservation strategies. Instead of just reacting to extinction threats, maybe we can use these tools to make ecosystems more resilient and help species adapt to a changing world.
It's like shifting from a defensive posture to a more offensive one, using all the tools we have to protect biodiversity.
Yeah, That's a great analogy. It highlights how de-extinction, despite all the controversy, could potentially revolutionize how we think about conservation.
It really is a lot to think about. I'm really starting to see the complexity of this whole de-extinction thing. It's not just about bringing back the dodo or the woolly mammoth. It's about our relationship with nature, the power of technology, and the responsibility that comes with it.
It really is. And I think that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. It forces us to ask some fundamental questions about, like, who we are, what we value, and what kind of future we want to create.
This has been an awesome deep dive. Like, there's so much to think about.
I agree. And I think this is a good place to stop for now, when we come back. Let's shift gears a little bit and delve into Beth Shapiro's journey a bit more. I think her story and how her views on all this evolved really reflect the complexities of this whole field.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So before we took a break, we were talking about how de-extinction isn't just a scientific challenge, it's also a philosophical one, right?
Right.
And I think Beth Shapiro's journey from being a skeptic to an advocate really shows that. What do you think was the turning point for her?
You know, it seems like it was a few things coming together at once. First, the rapid advancements in gene editing, especially CRISPR. I think that made de-extinction a much more realistic possibility. It wasn't just a theoretical idea anymore, you know? It was becoming a tangible reality.
Yeah, it's like we suddenly had the tools to actually do this.
Yeah.
Which must have been mind-blowing for scientists.
Absolutely.
Especially ones like Shapiro.
Yeah. But I think what really swayed her was the potential to apply these tools for conservation.
Oh, yeah.
It became about more than just bringing back extinct animals. It was about using those same techniques to help endangered species.
Right. The ones that are still with us.
Exactly.
Like, she realized that de-extinction wasn't just about rewriting the past. It was about using those lessons to protect the future.
Exactly. That's a really important distinction. And the work that Colossal is doing with the pink pigeon and the elephant herpes virus, that's a perfect example of that. They're taking that knowledge, those techniques developed for de-extinction, and applying them to real-world conservation challenges.
Yeah, and that's a story that I feel like it often gets overshadowed by the, the more sensational headlines about bringing back the dodo or the woolly mammoth.
Right. It's less flashy.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to a much deeper understanding of what this technology can do.
It does. It seems like Shapiro recognized that de-extinction could be like a catalyst for this whole new era of conservation. So we're not just reacting to crises, but actively using this technology to protect biodiversity.
Yeah. I think you're spot on, that shift in perspective. I think it's something that we all should be thinking about, How can we harness these tools to make sure that both existing and resurrected species can thrive in the future?
It's a radical idea, but it's also kind of hopeful. Like, maybe we're not just doomed to watch species disappear forever. Maybe we can actually turn the tide.
It's definitely a more proactive approach to conservation.
Yeah.
And it challenges this idea that extinction is inevitable.
Wow.
We might actually have the power to change that.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. I'm really starting to appreciate the potential of de-extinction. And not just in the way I initially thought. It's not just about bringing back the dodo. It's about rethinking our entire relationship with nature.
I think that's a great takeaway from our deep dive today. De-extinction isn't just a scientific endeavor. It really is a reflection of our values and our hopes for the future of life on Earth.
So, if someone's listening to this and they want to learn more about this, where should they start?
I think Shapiro's book is a great place to begin, How to Clone a Mammoth. It's a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to delve deeper into the science and ethics of de-extinction. It's a thought-provoking read. It will definitely leave you with a lot to think about.
Yeah, and speaking of things to think about, I feel like we didn't really answer the biggest question here, did we? Like, if we can bring back the dodo, should we?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer. I think the most important thing is that we're having this conversation, that we're thinking about the ethics and all the possible consequences.
Yeah, that's true. This isn't just a debate for scientists. It's a debate for all of us. It's up to everyone to decide what role de-extinction will play in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of de-extinction. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And for everyone listening, until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.